Hi, I'm Michael P. Coleman, Content Director for Brother Be Well. Thanking you for checking out this Parents and Caregiver series brought to you by Blue Shield of California's Blue Sky Initiative. As I think about all of this, Frank, and you've been providing so many tips and suggestions for what you got to have on hand, all the information that you got to have on hand, I'm wondering how effective a good old fashioned journal might be. We all lean to technology, and in another Brother Be Well production, I talked about using your phone. We most of us have
Mhm.
smartphones, but someone mentioned that you can't always unlock that smartphone. Many of us have passwords on them or facial recognition. So an old-fashioned journal and a pen might be a really good idea, I'm thinking. And for grandparents, that's more natural for some of us than it is for the younger generations anyway. How
Mhm.
effective do you think a journal might be? And can you kind of walk through some of the information? You've done so much already, so I hate to ask you to do it, but can you walk us through some of the critical key information you might want to put in a journal right away if you find yourself caring for one of your grandchildren?
Yeah, definitely. A journal is very helpful. Not everyone is savvy with electronics, and then in case of an emergency, someone can pick that journal up and look and find some vital and permanent information. The type of information that should be included in the journal are the grandchildren name, the date of birth, biological parents' name, telephone number, the school telephone number and name, their primary care provider, dentist, any outside care provider, such as a social worker or therapist, their names, emails, and telephone numbers should also be included in there. Also, to note if there's any allergies that the children has towards any medication or food, should also be included in that journal.
It wouldn't hurt. Some of the two things there, Frank. It wouldn't hurt to include for all the parents to have journals. We're talking about grandparents caring for care, but some of that stuff you rattled off, I'd have a hard time in an emergency. I'd have had a hard time with my own children, remembering certain things that even things I might have known, but in the middle of an emergency or you're dealing with an emergent situation, you sometimes might forget some of that stuff. So I think keeping that journal is a really good idea anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's think about parents and caregivers of any age. Sorting through the myriad of public service resources and information can be really daunting. I've learned about a service 211. The website is 211.org, and I'm understanding it can help you kind of cut through the clutter, so to speak, and point you in the
Mm-hmm.
right direction if you're looking for services. You can just call 211. Can you talk to us about that service a little bit?
Yes. So also in Sacramento, we had it's called 211 Sacramento. It's a free information and referral service that's available 24 hours, 7 days a week. They have a database of nonprofit and public agency programs and have trained referral specialists that can give you those numbers based off the need that you suggest. The referrals include, but not limited to, employment and training, housing, financial assistance, food program, legal assistance, child services, services for individuals with disabilities, and a gamut of other services that's available to the community.
And you've also, I don't know that you mentioned, just in case you didn't, I was happy to find that 211 services are available for people for whom English isn't their primary language. We're in Sacramento. We've got a really large Latino population. Many people have Spanish as a primary language, a lot of different languages spoken in Sacramento. So if English isn't your primary language, 211 is one of the ways that you might be able to cut through some of that as well. Really
Yes.
appreciate you walking us through that.
Yes. Thank you,
Yeah,
Michael.
yeah. No problem. Just trying to help you out, Frank. You got all
Thank
the
you.
info, man. I'm I'm excited. Once I thought of something that you didn't have on that list, man. So I
Yeah.
really appreciate having you here. Listen, I want to talk about another set of resources that I've learned about here in Sacramento County. Again, the mental health access team, I'm told, can be really helpful to families that are weathering behavioral health and other emergencies. Would you mind, again, I don't mean to overwork you, Frank, but can you talk to us a little bit about the Sac County Mental Access Team? I would think that they could be really helpful for grandparents caring for their grandchildren.
Definitely. The Sacramento County Mental Health Assets Team is an amazing department. They support all Sacramento County residents of all ages, and referrals to full service partnership or providers that provide mental health services based on different demographics. So, for example, if I had a teenager who needed some support, mental health support, they will look at referrals for the transitional age youth mental health, which are from age 17 to 24. And there's also childhood mental health services or older adults mental health services that are also available. It's a gamut of services, and they'll be able to provide an assessment and link you to an appropriate referral.
I can already tell, Frank, we're a good team with resources like this because I've got some of the information about availability. You mentioned 24/7. That's Monday through Friday. They're available from 9 to 5, 24/7 for mental health emergencies. And let me get that number out again. I think it was on the bottom of our screen, 916-875-1055. That's 916-875-1055. There's a toll-free number for the Sac County Mental Health Access Team, and it's 888-881-4881. I'll repeat that for our podcast listeners, 888-881-4881. Really appreciate it, Frank. Appreciate you bringing that, man. Before we get out of here, a couple other questions. If you got time, can you handle it? Can you?
Yes.
Really appreciate it. You've been so helpful. I would think that sometimes a grandparent who's been entrusted with the care of their grandchildren might also be facing estrangement from their adult children. And I was drawing from some personal experience there. I know a little bit about family dynamics, and it can get kind of rough sometimes. So I was putting myself in the seat of a grandparent. You might have to care for a grandchild because something's broken down with what the parent can do due to a variety of factors. Can you offer some tips for dealing with that, Frank, for grandparents to help heal those relationships within the family?
Yes. Oftentimes it's difficult for the parent who lose their children to have resentment towards the grandparents who are able to care for their children and provide that stability that the child needs. What would be an important first step for the relationship is for both parties to respect one another's boundary and the rules that are in place. Other tips include encouraging communication between the grandchildren and their parents, being available and present during visitation, offering the parents to come to family counseling to discuss feelings and emotions that are difficult to manage and move past.
That's a really good set of tips. And you began that one, Frank, with words that are going to stick with me. You said, in order to provide what the child needs. And that's what this is all about. Parents, grandparents, uncles, aunts, whoever, we should all be focused on what the child needs first, I think, and then put our family stuff on the back burner. And a part of giving them what they need is for us grown folks to figure it out, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And again, it's all about the children at this point, their stability, their success moving forward.
Yeah. And I don't mean to oversimplify it, but I think we grown folks should be able to figure it out. When we're looking after little ones, they can't always do that by themselves. So we got to step in and do what we need to do.
Exactly.
Really appreciate it, Frank. You know, you're emergent family therapist trainee with HearU.org. You're on the front lines with families all the time. So I couldn't let you get away without just asking the question, have we missed anything? And if so, what have we missed? Are there any other issues related to grandparents managing family crises or caring for their grandchildren for possibly the very first time? Any other issues related to any of that you'd like to touch on before we let you go?
Yes, this one area is the self-care of the grandparents. It takes a village to raise children. In the case of grandparents themselves, they usually are the last line of relatives to care for the grandchild. So in order for the grandparents to care for the grandchildren, they need self-care themselves. So it's important for the grandparents to find some free time for self-care. For example, while the child is in school, the grandparents are doing an enjoyable activity to kind of decrease and the stress and anxiety of managing a child is also physically exhausting. So find time to rest. Also, respite care is available too if the child is came through the Child Protective Services. There are additional services that are available to children and their guardians and providers to support the guardians and providers in caring for the child.
That was really insightful, Frank, because I think that grandparents, that's of a generation that we weren't talking about self-care. They weren't talking about self-care back then. That's a generation of people that were taught to care for other people. And it's been fairly recently that we've begun to realize we got to care for ourselves. And that whole conversation about self-care, I think, is probably for younger people like you and me. If you're a grandparent, I don't know that that's first and foremost on your mind. So really appreciate you touching on that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Michael.
Frank, this has been an amazing conversation. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.
I did. I was glad to be here, and I'm really thankful I'm able to be of service.
And so does that mean you'll be of service again? Can I invite you back and you'll say yeah?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'll be available.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Frank Peace Jr., a marriage and family therapist trainee with one of our valued production partners, HearYou.org. Thanks a lot, Frank. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
And I want to thank someone else, the sponsor for this particular video and all of the videos and podcasts in our Parents and Caregiver series. That sponsor is Blue Shield of California, and specifically their Blue Sky initiative. That initiative boosts access to mental health support, and you can learn all about that fantastic initiative at bluesky.blueshieldca.com. That's bluesky.blueshieldca.com. Another website I'll tell you about really quickly, our own, brotherbewell.com. If you've enjoyed this video or podcast, got something out of it, and you want to see or hear a little bit more about topics like this or any one of a number of behavioral health topics for boys and men of color, check us out at brotherbewell.com. We define boys and men of color as 12 and up, Asian and Pacific Islander, Native and Indigenous, Latinx, and African American, boys and men, and the LGBTQIA plus community members who enhance those cultural communities. There's something for all of those folks, right? At brotherbewell.com. Check it out. We're a membership supported service. Memberships are free. So you can sign up for a membership. Do that right now at brotherbewell.com. While you're there, sign up for the blog and you'll get notifications. We just need your email address there and you'll get notifications when videos or podcasts just like this one go live on the platform. Check it all out at brotherbewell.com. My name again, Michael P. Coleman. I'm the content director for Brother Be Well, and I want to ask you to do two quick things for me before I let you go. Why don't you take great care of yourself? And we're trying to do everything we can to help you do that. When you get that down, find somebody that needs a little help with you and take great care of them too. Until next time, bye-bye.